Welcome, welcome, welcome. Ma, what a depressing day. Man, I'm choking up already on camera. The depressing day. Luke lost his sleeves.
I lost them.
So
I
much has
lost
happened.
them.
So much has happened. Man, I am thoroughly depressed about this team. I'll be honest with you. The Grizzlies really shit one last night.
That's a good way to put it.
You know, this team's got a lot of problems. They got a lot of problems. I tweeted this last night that they got enough problems to where I don't think even John Morant can fix them. Like that's how many problems they got. So difficult to watch last night. Difficult to kind of cope with. A lot of issues still on the defensive end, which continue to confuse most of us, especially myself and you. We talked about on the show what the Grizzlies wanted to do last night, what they maybe try to get the Lakers to do. You will contest the 3-pointers because it was something we kind of talked about, and they decided to do. They did the 3-pointer thing, but they left them wide open. So, they let a team that traditionally shoots pretty low percentage on 3-point field goals shoot checks notes 60%.
Oh my God.
62%. 62%.
We almost shot that many threes.
That's crazy. They were 22 for 35.
Oh my God.
Very difficult. I know it sounds even worse when you say it out loud like that. I don't know. Thoughts on the game last night?
Man, like hearing that number and then hearing TJ say they made tough shots really is frustrating because they didn't make tough shots. They made wide open shots. It's like, what are you talking about? I don't know. There was like absolutely nothing to like. The only thing that I would say that I liked about last night was Santi. I liked what Roddy did, but even then it's like, I don't think Roddy, that's not, we shouldn't be at that point where we're trying to praise Roddy at this point. There's only one guy that I think will be in the rotation if we ever get these dudes healthy, if this team ever plays together. Santi's the only one that played last night that I was like, cool, there's someone that we might be able to build on, or we might be able to trade.
Yeah, I admittedly went to bed after the third quarter. I was just done. I was done, man. You probably noticed I was tweeting a lot, then I just stopped because I was tired and
it was bad.
I didn't feel like I didn't feel like waiting. I should have gone to bed at halftime. I was like, nah, I'll just see what happens. And the bench, had a lot last night. The starters did nothing. Bismack Biyombo had 0 points and 8 rebounds. Jaren Jackson Jr. got manhandled. It was really quite the. I mean, Anthony Davis just destroyed Jaren Jackson Jr.
Made him look like
made him look like a little lost puppy. And Jaren has against Bismack Biyombo, against Anthony Davis, against top bigs, Jaren has really struggled this year.
Bam.
Yeah, I mean, really, really struggled against Bam Adebayo, and I guess Anthony Davis, probably the only real kind of top bigs he's played so far. But really struggled with them both.
They dominate him, man. Dominated him.
I mean, again, like last night, Jaren had 8 points, 2 assists, and 2 rebounds, and he was 3 for 16.
Well, and we said like it would depend on which Anthony Davis showed up, and the one that wants to play basketball and wants to make Jaren look like a bad player, that's who showed up. And it's like, God, dang it.
Yeah, that's tough. I mean, Desmond Bane was 5 for 10, 15 points. I mean, poor guy, is literally getting double teamed. I mean, get double teamed all night. I mean, I'm surprised he even had 15 points, honestly. Same. I mean, the amount of shots, the amount of coverage it was, I mean, because there's no one else out there.
Nope. After Luke got hurt, there was nothing.
The most disappointing, and that leads to the most disappointing thing of all, is that Luke Kennard went out and Marcus Smart went out. Marcus Smart gets hurt on just kind of a freak play.
Came down on
Austin Reed's foot. I mean, it's not much you can do about that. It's not intentional. It just sucks, and it's just a weird situation. It's just a bad situation. Rolls his ankle. Looked real bad. He's probably out for a few weeks. I would assume, at least. You'll probably see him and I'd say he'll come back maybe a week before Ja comes back.
Ja comes back.
Here right now, it's the third week of February or third week of November. We got Thanksgiving next week. Probably takes all of next week off, maybe 2 weeks. That's beginning of so second week of December is probably what I would assume for Marcus Smart. If it's a high ankle sprain and knowing what we know about those, that's
already in a boot last night.
Yeah. There wasn't much detailed about Luke Kennard other than he had just knee soreness. Which
I don't know what that is.
A weird thing. So that's kind of up in the air with Luke. But if Luke misses significant time, this team is just kind of a shell of themselves. You look at it, there's no Marcus Smart, and the guys that are going to be playing will be David Rodder probably moves into the starting lineup for Marcus Smart.
Yeah.
So, Bismack Biyombo guy was off on his couch a few weeks ago. Jacob Gillard is a two-way guy. David Roddy is a young, supposed to be like playing smart minutes kind of guy. Those are your three of your starters. The other guys coming off the bench would be Zaire Williams, who has been awful. Santi Adama, who is would be a regular rotation player for you, and Xavier Tillman would be a regular rotation player for you.
Man,
and John Contra, last night. And John Contra, who is is just again probably not an NBA player. So 4 of your 10 or 4 of your 9 rotation players are actual NBA players, 2 starters, and 2 role play, two bench guys. And that there isn't many games you're going to win with that roster.
No,
you're just not.
You got to hope. What I hope is that they saw that game was out of hand and they were like, Luke, we're not, just sit down. That's what I hope. Because I didn't see him hit his knee. I didn't see anything with his knee. Like that's what I hope. They were just like, this is already out of hand. Like, we don't want to risk you, like, I hope that's what it was. Because we might be able to survive if they maybe move him into the starting lineup a little bit. I don't know. I don't know. It is not going to be fun.
I would love that to be the answer too. Like, hopefully, I hope you're right. I hope that's just like, hey, here we are. And like you said, he's like, hey, it's kind of sore. And they're just like, yeah, just take the night off, brother.
Yeah.
We got this. And I think, that's the best thing you can hope for at this point. And hopefully that's what it is when he comes back,
we don't play again until this weekend, right? Like take a couple days, like, don't risk it, I don't think we play till Friday or Saturday.
The next game is, let me look at the schedule.
It's the Spurs, I think.
Live look at Mark trying to do this Saturday. We have a whole week off. Not till Saturday. We play the Spurs at the Spurs. So he's got quite a bit of time. And I think that's the most depressing thing, is that you look at this team and you're getting people back and like, okay, you finally got Santi. And it's every time you get somebody back, you get X back last night. You kind of get that first game of Santi last night, and then you lose 2 guys. It's like, you can't win for losing. And part of that's just bad luck. We've talked about us all year. It's just bad luck. Right? There's nothing that anybody can do about this. There's nothing that anybody could have done to predict, or prevent, the Steven Adams stuff. There's nothing, it's just the way it is. I mean,
I'm working on some stuff right now. There's our top 6 highest paid dudes. Only one of them hasn't missed more than 2 games.
Yeah. And that's unfortunate. I mean, it's hard to sit here and criticize and do all those things, because it's injuries play a lot into this. If you have a full roster, which I think we've seen, if I say quote unquote full roster, and you didn't even have X, but I guess the last 2, maybe 2 games, that 2 W's, or the last one you had is maybe when you have the most competent, complementary roster where you're playing 8 dudes, and all those 8 dudes can kind of play. So I don't know, man. It's hard to sit there and criticize them when they're literally playing. You're starting a 2A guy, literally playing basically like G leaguers, and
a guy that was on his couch a week ago. No shade, but he was literally on his couch.
Correct. I mean, and Bismack we've been obviously big fans of Bismack Biyombo, and he's been much better than anybody thought he would be. But yes, you're right. He was on his couch 2 weeks ago. There's no stretch that there's nothing about that that's untrue.
No.
And so yes, he's been good, but is he one of the best centers in the league? No. If he was, he would have been picked up on a team well before we even had a chance to pick him up.
He wouldn't have been on his couch a couple weeks ago.
It's unfortunate. It's tough. It's depressing as fuck.
Yes, it is.
I don't know how else to like sugarcoat that. It sucks sitting here watching this team being pretty hopeless because you're like, this is just not. This is not going well, and there's no real like end in sight. Because, like I said, even when Jocken's back, I think they have even bigger problems.
Yeah.
And most of which I think is the defense. The defense is awful. And I think that is squarely on the coaching staff. I really do. I know we haven't really blamed the coaching staff for much, but I think they have to take a responsibility for the defense and the helping the strategic and schematic helping that they have going on. It is not working. It is and I don't even know what the end goal is for that is for this helping or over helping into the shooters. Like, I don't know what the end goal.
What the fuck are we doing? I don't get it.
I'm not sure what the end goal there is. I really don't know what schematically what you're trying to prevent. And so we've seen it on multiple games this year. It's very confusing. And the defense has been perimeter wise is atrocious. I mean, I don't know the stats on perimeter defense, but I can guarantee you they're probably the last in the league.
It's like, how many times are we going to have to see other teams break records against us to find out, to figure out what the hell's going on? Like, I've got people that don't even follow basketball watching these games and being like, why are they leaving those dudes wide fucking open? It's like, good question. It's a very good question. I do not know. I don't know.
Yeah. It's like I said, it's depressing. But hey, I digress. The silver linings last night, like you said, I'd like to be a little bit more hopeful tonight, or this morning. Santi Aldama looked good. I think he didn't really have a choice last night. Someone had to take some of the shots. David Roddy looked good. Continued to shoot the ball well. He was 2 for 8, not a great percentage, but those first two went down. I mean, I think that, he's a real NBA player. In terms of like, he's a good bench player that shouldn't be playing 31 minutes a night. You want to see that more like 10, 15. But here we are. I thought he was
X was perfect from 3. When X looked really good from deep. He's
X
not been shooting
from 3 from 3. Yeah.
Yeah, man. It's awesome.
He looked good in his return, and so those 3 guys off the bench, I think will be helpful for you. And I would probably, again, David Roddy's going to have to move into the starting lineup now. So that leaves your bench even worse.
You got to play some of the 2 ways. I bet Vince plays more.
Yeah, I'd be interested to see. I mean, John Contra was pretty abysmal last night. Zaire was pretty abysmal last night. It was 4 for 6. 4 for 16. So I'd be curious to see. I really wish. I hope they go back to less players, more minutes. Playing the starters, heavy minutes. And like we did in the win over the Clippers, they played basically an 8-man rotation. I think that's your best bet, right? At this point, you don't have a whole lot of players that can play, and I think that's your best bet. So
play the ones that can.
Play the ones that can, heavy minutes, play some guys off the bench, just basically starter minutes, and go from there. Hopefully, like you said, hopefully Luke is not as. Hopefully that's what was maybe precautionary. Maybe you can only hope.
I hope to God. I hope to God.
And maybe he's back, and if that's the case, and he's back to his kind of 30 minutes, and you don't have to play Zaire, maybe that's the case.
Yeah. So
that's our silver linings. I know that's like pretty low on the total pole, but that's I think the
silver seems like reach. It was like
maybe that's our bronze linings. I don't know, maybe an emerald, aluminum. I don't know, something worse than. But again, that's as good as we can make it. It was bad last night. They got bullied, and it sucks when you get bullied by a team that you're supposed to be, kind of what we thought at the beginning of the season.
Who just beat our asses, beat our asses.
Yeah. It's tough to get bullied by a team. You thought at the beginning of the season, if you came to this game, 11th, 12th game of the season, that you'd be, stacking up kind of against them, or they'd be chasing you, it shouldn't be this way around. So, let's take a quick break. We'll be right back on the other side. We'll talk about our stats monster, who we thought we're going to have to give it to somebody. Yeah. We'll figure out who we're going to give it to on the other side.
I am highly upset, man.
Oh, man.
ESPN, you dastardly dogs you. Last week had us feeling good. They picked the Grizzlies to be first in the West with about 48.5 wins. And what a difference a few days makes.
What a difference.
You put out your list of the top 100 players in the NBA. Desmond Bain jumps in at 61. Jaren Jackson Jr. comes in at number 31. Jaren's top 25 to me, but if you all right, whatever. I think that's a little slight to Jaren. Desmond Bain is disgusting, in my opinion. Then we get Ja Morant, All-NBA player, two-time All-Star, one of the most dynamic offensively players in the NBA, Ja Morant. That guy was number 35 on their list, Kenny Stubblefield. The same people that said the Grizzlies will be the first team in the West. They're going to get that done with just some regular dudes.
Tune in to the Anthony Sane Show, Wednesdays and Fridays at 12 p.m. weekly on the Bluff City Media YouTube channel.
Just curious, you kind of talked about the transfers and things like that. How has that changed your mindset from a roster management standpoint? Like, incredible recruiter. All the classes, I think we had 2 back-to-back and 21 and 22 top classes. How does that change with the transfer portal? Do you start focusing more on upperclassmen? Do you kind of get away from the younger freshmen? How does that work?
Yeah, so I still believe in our coaching staff, the way we do things and developing guys. And that I will never get away from that philosophy. We're still going to recruit a high school class. Now, there's a lot of colleges out there that say, screw this. We're pushing all the chips in on this roster, win right now, and we'll figure it out. Sure. And if it doesn't, right, it implodes and bad things happen. But I think you still have to bring in true freshmen and develop them and see what they can become. And that I'll never waver from that. But the portal certainly changed things.
Tune in to Tigers Untapped with TJ Willis and Trey Lasley every Wednesday at 3 p.m. on the Bluff City Media YouTube channel.
Welcome back to the Daily Grind, a daily Grizzlies show where we talk Grizzlies every single day right here on Bluff City Media. This is the time of the program where we do a little shameless promotion here. If you're not already a Bluff City Media Insider, make sure you go and do so. It is a really, really good value for what you're going to get. And you get access to our insider articles. Luke, you have them. Joe Molnick has them. We had insider insights pop out this morning from one of our new writers, Evan Hayes. Does a great job going over some stuff over there on the website. You also get access to our Discord, get to chat with us, as well as all the other fun folks of Discord. Last night it was a bit of a shit show, but to be expected from from the game last night. You also get 20% off our merchandise. You get access to merchandise early when we release new stuff. So all those cool stuff. Plus, you get to support a local company doing local stuff. So go and join Bluff City Media. $5 a month as a subscriber. Super easy. We're running different promotions all the time. So check out for those. Check those out as well. If you're not already a subscriber, if you don't want to be, can't afford it, just go subscribe to the YouTube channel. It really helps us out as well. Get a little bit of cash in there. And it helps us continue to run this operation so that we can bring you the content. So go and join Bluff City Media as an insider. And we hope you enjoy it as much as we do. So let's get back to the rundown. Stats Monster from last night. We got to give it out to somebody.
I know.
Who are we giving it out to?
That's Santi, right? Santi. I don't know if there's.
Yeah. I would probably I think.
I don't know who else.
I don't know, man. Can we say nobody?
Yeah,
I guess Santi. I mean, he was probably the best of the worst. 24 points, 9 for 15 from the field, 3 from 8 from 3, 4 assists, 5 rebounds, 2 blocks, and is minus 12.
minus 12.
Only a minus 12. Although, we could probably give it out to David Roddy too. Again, David Roddy 6 for 17, 2 for 8 from 3, 3 from 4 from free throw for the free throw line, which is probably better than most. 3 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 steals, 2 blocks, 17 points, and only a minus 7. So
nice.
So I would say if I have to make I think if I have to make a choice, I'm going to go with David Roddy. I'm going to go with a young guy. That's what I'm going to do.
Let's do it. That's why
David Roddy. Speaking of free throws, and I'm going to go off, and this is not part of the stats month segment, 9 for 12 for the Grizzlies shooting free throws, 18 for 24 for the Lakers. I think this is a situation where every game we talk about the Grizzlies getting quote unquote screwed by the refs on the free throw, on the fouls, on the foul shooting. And at a certain point, we got to stop talking about the Grizzlies and them getting screwed by the refs and start talking about the Grizzlies and how they're not defending well without fouling.
Yep.
All right, we're not to that point yet, right? We're not going to do that yet, but it is a thing, right? Like there's a lowest common denominator for these things, right? A lot of times, and it's not every game you get screwed. Like it can't happen every game. You're like, yes, the game where we had the fucking atrocious. Yes, that was atrocious, but then like every game after that, it's like, well, you look like, they continue to foul at a rate or defend at a rate while fouling that is enormously high. And you get a team with like the Lakers who also get to the line a lot. Maybe it's just the Grizzlies. I know that Jaren gets a bad whistle. I'll give you that, but
Jaren's is bad.
Maybe it's just the Grizzlies. I know that's not part of our stats monster segment. I just noticed that while I was looking at it. So
we're defending like the stats monster. Like that's how they're defending right now. Like all like that, all arms.
Yeah, that's stats monster. That's what they look like defending.
That's what they look like defending the perimeter right now. They probably come running with their arms up and the mouth open like that.
I agree. Let's take another quick break. David Ridey, congrats on the stats monster from the Daily Grind. We will put your certificate in the mail. We know you watch the show. It will be coming soon. Put that wherever you have all your other awards for basketball. We appreciate it being the stats monster, and we will be right back on the other side.
Seth Hennigan just still he
doesn't look himself.
He just doesn't in the big moments. He's not making the plays that have to be made. If you look at the raw stats, they're not terrible. But the 2 interceptions, and he fumbled twice. They didn't lose those fumbles, but 2 fumbles and 2 interceptions. One of them coming at a terrible time on a 4th down late in the game when Memphis really needed to put points on the board. But I just don't think Seth is playing well enough to elevate this team.
Right.
I think he's playing well enough for Memphis to be fine. But as far as for them to do something special and to elevate this team, he's just not playing like that.
Tune in to On the Bluff with Christian Fowler and Gabe Kuhn every Tuesday at 12 p.m. on the Bluff City Media YouTube channel.
Kenny, there are certain guys in the NBA that are enigmatic players. They're going to be appealing to a large fan base. But when you have guys like that who, like Ja Morant, who have off-court issues he's had, Kyrie Irving has had the things he's had, the NBA doesn't particularly like the fact that those guys are larger than life. If I'm the NBA, if I'm ESPN, who of course are working together on all this stuff, I'm going to start telling you who you need to like. And it's going to be a different type of guy to kind of play off of the guys that are going to be there anyway. Let me put these squeaky clean image guys that we want to put in front of you up there as well to kind of counteract some of the stuff we get with the guys that we don't have any control out of. So let me put the Tyrese Halliburtons in front of you. Let me put the Shai Gilgeous-Alexanders in front of you. The Josh Giddeys. Let me force these guys in front of you. Not particularly on national television games, but let me just kind of create these little sub agendas with these guys to kind of make them those second tier stars that we're gonna like put out in front as well. Like they're doing this on purpose, man. Like if anybody can't see this, like come on, man. Do not sit there and tell me that you really think that Tyrese Halliburton is a top 20 player in the NBA.
Tune in to The Anthony Sane Show, Wednesdays and Fridays at 12 p.m. weekly on the Bluff City Media YouTube channel.
Welcome back to the show. I forgot to change this graphic, but let's go back to the rundown. Let's play GM. What do we... I lost your audio, and I can't hear you now.
You can't hear me?
But I know you're talking, so let's play GM. You talk, I'll work.
Can you hear me? You can't hear me? I'm going to fix this. Can you hear me now? Yeah? Can you hear me? You hear me? Cool. All right.
Okay.
So
I got you back.
Sweet. I was panicking. All right. So that's what I would do if I were GM. I would just panic. I'm calling the Chicago Bulls immediately. That's who I'm calling. I'm calling them because after the news that came out yesterday about them taking offers on everybody like Caruso, Levine, DeRozan, Vucevic, I would just call them and see what I could do. Literally anything. Well, no, I wouldn't get Vucevic. I saw Bleacher Report suggest Vucevic, and I think that's stupid. But I would get Caruso on this team in a heartbeat. That's who I would go after personally.
Yeah. Here's the problem, and we've talked about this. And I'm gonna say it again because I think everybody needs to understand the why we're here, the real issue, right? It's as simple as this: the Grizzlies took swings on young guys, and they used assets to go and get them. Remind, they used 2 first-round picks and a second-round pick to get Jake LaRavia. They used the 25th and the 29th pick and a future second to get Jake LaRavia. They used assets and future assets to get young players in the draft they thought would win now. None of those players have worked out. They struck out on everybody except for maybe David Roddy. Maybe TBD. He's a John Contra with maybe a slightly higher floor. He's a better shooter. On top of that, you have injuries that have made your once valuable contracts not valuable. Your once big guys who are on good contracts now on bad contracts. And it's going to take Brandon Clark off of you for nothing right now because he's hurt and no one knows what's going to come back to because his game is predicated on being bouncy and athleticism. Mm-hmm. And he's got one of the worst injuries for that. No one's going to take Steven Adams right now because they have no idea what Steven Adams is going to be based on it's been an entire year and still hasn't resolved the issue. So you have 2 contracts guys who are hurt once positive value now are on negative value. On top of that, all the young players, your young draft capital or young capital players you would have to trade. No one wants. No one's going to want Jake LaRavia, who can't even get minutes on this team right now. And quite frankly, that's as sad as it gets. Jake LaRavia can't get minutes on this team right now. He's on the hustle and he can't play on this team right now. You can't play, period. End of story. And no one wants them. The only positive value contract, maybe Zaire, and that's a maybe. Maybe someone takes a flyer on Zaire where they think he might be something. So now you're in a situation where you have no young players who were supposed to fill those gaps when people got hurt, who can't play. You have injured players on bad contracts now, negative value contracts. And you have no real assets to trade outside of your main guys who you're not trading. So, your only real assets to trade are Luke Kennard,
Santi.
And Santi. And you're not trading Santi because you feel like he's a pretty good piece. And maybe Jitty. And maybe
his contract is tradable at least.
He's a flyer, right? I don't think anybody's trading for Jitty. I don't think anybody's trading for Jitty. Is he put into a trade to make the money work? Yeah, I think that's where that's where he comes. That contract comes in, right?
Yeah.
So now you're in a situation again where you have no positive, real positive value contract to trade. Like Luke is a positive value contract to trade, but who's going? I mean, what's he get you? What does he get you though? Right? What do those guys get you? Is it a 2-for-1 that you kind of back where you started though? Like, is he going to get you a Zach LaVine? I don't think so. And so your only real assets are draft picks.
Yeah.
And so now here's a decision you got to make. Do you want to package the draft picks, right? Do you want to package the positive value assets you have to try to go out and get somebody you think is going to help this team, like a Zach LaVine? Let's just throw him out. That's your hope, right? That's what you want. Or are you just going to ride it out and hope for the best in the draft and see what shakes out when you draft pick someone next year when you have the first or second pick because they're that bad. And then you take a swing next year. You see what happens. You come back and just see what happens next year. That's where you're at right now. And as a GM, that's the decision you're making is not as what do I have today? It is, do I want to make a move or I just want to just ride this thing out and be as bad as we can, take a gap year, get the second or third pick and just see what we get. And the Grizzlies front office did this to themselves. They took, and to clear, I've said this before, I don't blame them. They thought they were good guys. They really liked the guys they went out and got. They just didn't work out. So now all the guys you got didn't work out. You let all the other guys, you let all the other rotation guys who were the Tyus Jones of the world, the Kyle Andersons of the world, let all those guys go. They're all gone. And you replace them with all young players and rookie deals, all rookie guys. And none of them worked out. So the back half of the rotation was started at the beginning of this year. The back half of the rotation was shitty. Now the back half of the rotation is the rotation, and it's shitty. That is as simple as it gets for this Grizzlies team. That is why they're in this situation, and that is the decision they have to make on where they got to go. And I think that's the decision that we're looking at facing. I don't think it's a decision of who we can go get. I don't think you're getting anybody. I don't think anybody in this NBA is. I want maybe
somebody on this roster,
maybe other than Santi. I think people would go out and say, "Hey, I want to trade for Santi," right?
Yeah.
Maybe Luke Kennard, but I don't know what Luke Kennard gets you, right? I think maybe Luke Kennard gets you some of the same type of player he already is, and it's kind of a waste to trade him.
So I wouldn't trade him. I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't trade him.
Santi, but Santi, I don't know if there's any really value trading him. He's a young player on a good contract, and he'll be back next year, and he can help you next year, right? Like, beside Dez, John, Jaren, like those are the only guys who would get you like multiple things back where you feel like this is
beneficial.
Yeah. That's where we're at. I know that's depressing, but that's where we're at.
I think I'd be willing to give up some of the picks. I think I'm at that point. We have all of our own, right? They're all our own picks.
We have all our own picks. Yeah. I mean, again, that's the question you got to answer, right? Is it, do you want to trade? Do you want to trade your picks and for a guy that then you think you can help you now? Like, do you think that those picks are better than whatever you could get in the trade or in the draft next year or the next 2 years, whatever that is? There's not a whole lot of assets. I know Daniel just commented on the screen there. We have the Grizzlies talk about 7.5 million trade exception. Yes, they do. But like, you still got to have somebody be willing to get one of your assets. I think that's the bigger issue here. Like, it's not like, could you make the trade? Sure. Right. But like, you got to have someone willing to want to come get your assets in terms of players. Again, Sire is maybe a flyer. I think that's a team you got to find somewhere like, a young team or like, I think we can, you guys fucked it up. We can make him, like, we can do better, right? We're development. We can do better with Zaire Williams. He's probably a positive value contract that I think people will take a flyer on.
It just depends on the team.
It depends on the team. Other than that, you're looking at Santi and Luke. And, and Mark Smart. I mean, if you want to trade Mark Smart, you can just trade it for him. I mean, you could trade it again in December. And so you could trade Marcus Smart if you wanted to. I don't think he's like part of your long-term deal. Maybe I just don't know how they view Marcus Smart. I assume they view him very highly because they went out and got him, right? They went out and got their guy. So I think that's the difficult decision that they're facing. So, but I digress. If it were me, and I think that's what this segment is about and this conversation about is, if it were us, what would we do? And if it were me, I would do nothing. I would do nothing. I would be as bad as I could be. I would go out and get a high draft pick, or I would have that draft pick available to trade next year. Like, if I knew that was going to be, obviously it's going to be it's going to be a top 10 draft pick. I can go out and trade it in the summer, right? If once hey, I got the third pick in the draft, or whatever it is, you land something like that, then you can use that as a real asset, right? Like a first round draft pick right now is, when you're a bad team, it's good, but once you know what the pick is, it's even better.
Yeah,
that's what I would do. I was as bad as I could be. I would wait it out, take a gap year, get the draft pick, if either make the pick or try to trade it for something better, and come back next year when everybody's fully healthy and run with it. That's just me. What would you do?
Because the West is as wide open as it is right now, like, I don't feel confident about any of these teams just yet. I would trade some of them.
You're on the trade your assets team.
Yeah, I am.
I mean, and then that's something. I mean, to be clear, there's no right. I don't think there's any right or wrong answer here, because like, they could take a draft pick next year and take the pick and it'd be an awful pick. Like they missed the last 2 years. So the front office that couldn't miss in terms of draft picks, when they first got put in charge, has missed the last 2 years.
Well, I don't know enough about draft classes, but is next year supposed to be good? I feel like it wasn't supposed to be that good.
It's not as a great. I don't think it's going to be as good as draft classes as in previous years.
Yeah.
So I think that's also something to take into consider. But I'm with you. I mean, if someone came to me and said, "Hey, if the Bulls came and say, hey, we want to trade you with Zach LaVine for 2 first-round picks," I would do that deal, right? Like, I just don't know. I think I would be very curious to see what those deals end up being, right? What those deals end up being out there. Like if that's something that they're willing to do. So, I think that if it depends on what the trade is, like if they're trying to trade for, younger players that can help them next year and continue, like that would be cool with me, right? That's the same as basically taking the draft pick, right?
Yeah. Yes.
You always got to look at that. Like I'm always if we're talking about drafts or trades, I'm always of the side, like I would rather have the known commodity than the unknown, right?
Mm-hmm.
I would much rather go trade for a young player on a good deal, that's 2 or 3 years in the league that maybe has already had some development and I know what he's going to be, right? Then a draft pick would because drafts are just so hard. And yes, and I just said the Grizzlies have missed the last 2 years, but the draft is difficult. And I think people need to understand it's hard to nail it. Like there's a lot of players that get drafted that just don't make it, right? And there are a lot that do, but the draft is also difficult. So I think that's if someone comes to me with a trade that's got a young player in it and they feel good about, and they feel kind of a Zaire situation where they don't feel like it's good, they work out with them and they want to move them and for draft picks, then let's do it.
Yeah.
But as of right now, I'm just gonna. I will probably, if I were them, I'd hold tight until something really, quite good came along. I'm not out there looking for a trade for someone they think is going to help them in the playoffs, right? That's where we were last year. Last year they were like, "Hey, let's make a trade to help someone like in the next, 3 months. Let's to go further in the playoffs." That's no longer a consideration at this point. This is if it's a trade, it's got to be what can we do for a trade that's going to be a guy that's going to be here for the next 4 years? That's what I think.
The next building block.
Yeah. Yep. It's been a fun show. Actually, I take that back. It has not been a fun show. It's been a depressing as shit show. But I digress. We'll be back tomorrow. We'll talk more about this tomorrow. We'll continue to discuss it every single day like we do on the Daily Grind. Like I said before, if you're not already a member of Bluff City Media, make sure you go and do that. We're here every day. All of our other shows, Tigers Untapped, Anthony Sain's show, the Grizz 901 show, GB Live, as well as all of our writers on the website. They do a tremendous job at this at Bluff City Media. So there's tons of content for you guys, no matter if you're a Tigers fan, Grizzlies fan, football fan, general sports fan, soccer fan, any of that kind of stuff. It's all on our airwaves, all on our YouTube channel. So stick around. I know it's depressing right now, but I guess my final thoughts, it can only go up from here.
Yeah.
It can only get better.
Yeah.
I think this is that we have hit rock bottom.
Yes.
Right?
I'd say we're close. Pretty damn close.
You weren't confident, so maybe we haven't. Maybe we're still got a little ways to go. And if that's the case, that concerns me for the future of this year.
Oh God.
But yes, let's be back tomorrow. We'll be here at 9:00 the regular time, and we will see you then.